All right, welcome back to another episode of Story Dads. Today, you get a special treat. You get to see behind the curtain. You get to see our super producer extraordinaire, Isaac Liverance, from the great Liverance family. If you see Liverance, the name means quality. Today, we're talking about a film from his childhood. Actually, it came out when he was 1. That's how old I am, and maybe you are too. Kung Fu Panda. This is a movie about becoming. It's a movie about, about Poe going to college, which is where Isaac is now. We're going to talk about those parallels. We're going to talk about pride and humility. We're going to talk about virtuosity. We talk a little bit about AI and the industry. And as usual, it goes all over the place. So let's go. Yeah, for those at home listening, in case you don't know, in case you haven't paid attention and listened to us singing his praises, this is Isaac Liverance, our producer, our editor. He's the man. He is the personification of the magic behind what makes this possible. Isaac,
because one thing on that, I feel pretty confident saying, like, of all the linchpins that makes StoryDads work, Isaac is the main one. Like, you and I were getting together and talking about this stuff, and we're like, all right, we fumbled through a couple episodes before we found Isaac, and they're rough, man.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to go back and redo some of our old content to get it up to.
It's fun going back to the older ones because it kind of shows the growth, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I think we've all gotten better at this as we've gone on. I do think it'd be fun to do some sort of like end of the year recap, or been a year and a half of doing this by the end of this year on what all that's been. But yeah, Isaac, super glad to have you with us, and I hope big thank you from us for all you do for making this work.
Of course.
And especially you getting to work behind the scenes on this. I'm excited to actually get you in the discussion here on hacking a movie. Well, because we've had so many discussions behind the scenes on, like, you've brought up ideas we've shared, and we've gone into depth, like, on our own kind of text threads and discussions outside of this. So actually, like, do it real here on an actual episode, I think it's going to be a ton of fun. So glad you're with us, man.
It's kind of surreal being on the front of the camera, especially doing like the type of work I do. It's always like behind the scenes. No one really sees you. So it's interesting. It's fun. I'm excited to get into it.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the work that you do, the work that you want to do, what got you into it, like, and why you like what you're doing.
Yeah. So it kind of all started when I was like 12, 13. I had a church I was going to, and I saw people in the back doing like audio stuff, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. So I kind of just like integrated my way into that, and then it developed into like doing media for that church and like doing all of their post editing and all that stuff. And then that led to different job opportunities. And then I got linked up with you guys, and then I edit y'all's podcast, and hopefully in the future I can do something similar, media production, post-production, things like that. That's kind of my forte. But it's
so the inroad was the audio board. You saw the little things moving around, and you were
live mixing.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
interesting.
that's what I started doing. Cool. Yeah. And I did that for my church for 4 years. I started when I was 13 doing that.
Wow. That's awesome.
Which was a crazy responsibility for a 13-year-old.
Well, but I think that's the thing. You see so many people like audio engineers, musicians, they come out of churches because you get opportunities for this stuff early on, and you get mentors and you learn about this stuff. So if you're interested in this stuff but not interested in church, go to church anyway, because you might get some cool
Go to a church. They're so open about it too. Like, if you just find the media director, you'll know who he is because he's yelling at everybody. You find him and he will like, oh, you want this job? Okay. Or you can run the wires or whatever on stage. And it's like something simple, but then you gain those people's trust, and you gain those people's trust, and you're getting church out of it. So
it's one of the best easy entries into that whole world.
Yeah.
Outside of that is like,
yeah. Well, they need you. They'll probably find a way to pay you. If they can't, it won't be much. And then also
they'll train you.
Yeah, it's live production. And so every week you're going to do your job a couple times. So you get a chance to like make some mistakes. It's kind of low stakes. You get yelled at by your director, like you said, but like ultimately it's low stakes. It's not like you're going to get fired or like it's going to wind up in the movie forever. And so, I agree. I got a lot of reps in. When I was a film student and I came out of film school, they wanted to do video announcements. And I insisted on doing it narratively. And so we did it was sort of like sketch comedy. And I got to do video sketch stuff. So we had one that was like the bike police, and one that was like I don't know. We just went crazy, and yeah, and I got a lot of reps in, and all that stuff is gone. Nobody's gonna see it, but like, yeah, you get reps in. It's a good way to do that,
and it's good practice for when you actually do end up doing a job like that, and you make connections through the church too. I mean,
100%.
My next 3 jobs after the church were from someone at the church I met, and then they let me do production jobs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just pick it up as you go.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so then, how do we get connected to you?
My cousin actually works for, it's DreamWorks, correct? I always forget.
I think he's back there. Yeah. But that's where I met him, was through there.
Yeah. My cousin works for DreamWorks, and he met Micah and his wife. And so they kind of hit it off, I assume. And he knew that I had already done editing for podcasts. I was doing that for 2 years for a different company. And then he referred me. He was like, hey, do you want a job? And I was like, I would love a job. Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So he hooked me up with Micah, and then we had a conversation, and now we're here on the podcast.
That makes our podcast seem way more official. Someone calling it like, do you want a job? As me and Mike are like, we need someone who knows what they're doing with this. Do you know anyone? Like,
well, and also, you know, when we met you, I think you were still in high school.
Yes, I was just getting into senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got lots of friends around here with like teenage daughters that all have jobs, because people will pay them largely to like babysit and do stuff like that. And they're not going to pay their sons to come babysit. Like, that's just really rare. And so I feel like there's some inequity in the job market for young men. And so I thought, hey, we can make this offering, and like, we can't, I mean, what people charge for babysitting around this neighborhood is insane.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's more than my brother makes as a pharmacy technician. So just, know that next time you go to the pharmacy, count your pills. Yeah. But anyway, so it's such a pleasure to get to like, to help each other out. And I think we're definitely getting the better end of that bargain. But now with you being at school, it's even harder to hold down a job, because I remember trying to get work when I was in college, and trying to work around classes and stuff like that. Like, it takes a pretty unique situation. Like, you go to a store and tell them what your available hours are, and they're like, nah. But
I mean,
so anyways,
especially the transition between high school to college is ridiculous. Like, no matter how much they prepare you, it's never going to be enough. Like,
say more about that. Like,
there's the academic change, obviously, where classes are different. I took a lot of APs, so it wasn't necessarily harder. It was just like different types of workload. But socially, and like in terms of actually going out and doing things, it's so ridiculously different. You're not gonna have any friends unless you talk to somebody. Like, it really is so different.
Yeah.
But balancing that. And this job really has been a blessing, because like, obviously going to college is expensive, and there's a lot of like different expenses. So it's been nice because I can do it from my dorm or wherever, but the balance has been difficult, but it's good. You make it work. Like, you learn to make it work because you have to, right? And that's sort of the evolution you go through as you grow up. I mean,
well, you're learning how to manage your own schedule. No, you learn how to manage your own schedule independently. I got to get class stuff done. I have this job. I got to get some edits done. I got to get stuff uploaded, and I got to figure out the hours in the day in which I'm going to do all those things.
Yeah.
And so
it's full accountability, which you don't have until you hit.
college. And you also kind of realize, I remember just those years, like, all right, it'll just be up till 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. That just becomes the norm, right?
Yeah. It's funny coming back, because I'll be up till like 4 a.m. and then wake back up at like 12, and it's like that. That's just college schedule, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Weird.
Yeah. And so where are you going to school? What are you studying?
So I go to Kennesaw State University in northwest Atlanta. I'm not good with directions, but it's a good school. I do media and entertainment. I'm looking to minor in music and entertainment business.
Nice.
Which is at Kennesaw, so that will be fun. It's a big community, and especially in Atlanta, the industry here is booming so much that it's kind of hard to get your foothold in. So that's what I always tell people when I'm talking to people that are like looking to go to college for a media and comm in general. It's very difficult now more than ever, because everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants to be doing that, but you need to get your foot in the door. And that's where a lot of people fail getting into a comm degree or a media degree, is they the effort that they need to like make connections and meet people and like get their foot in the door. Like my mom always says, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Like be the squeaky wheel. And
if you're just gonna show up and be like, I'm gonna go in my classes and I'll get A's in my classes and then they'll move me forward, like that's not how those industries work.
And you're wasting $10,000-$15,000 a year, in my opinion, if you're just doing that.
No, the connections are where all the gold is on that one. And if you're not going to hustle and seek those out, then what's the point?
Especially to be in the industry, connections is 95% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just on my buddy's podcast called Riff Tacos. That episode is out. Go check it out. But we were talking about moving to Los Angeles. At the time, Atlanta was just kind of getting going, back in late 90s, early 2000s. And so really Los Angeles was the only place to really go. And Vancouver, British Columbia was, taking a lot of business at the time. And, a lot of stuff was happening up there as well. But we were talking about when you move there and you try to break into the industry, you don't have any kind of nepotistic connections of any kind, that it really is. It's about like hustle, obviously technical acumen. There's sort of like a bottom level of competence that below which you just simply cannot function. Above that, it's sort of like, if you can function consistently at a professional level, that's really adequate. And then obviously, as a technician or an artist, you always want to expand your ability, but that it is about like that hustle. And what we discovered was it's about decency, and that, you can, that wheel, the squeaky wheel that gets the grease can squeak in a couple of different ways. Like it can be really self-serving and self-aggrandizing, and it can be a flim-flam artist, and it can overpromise and underdeliver only for so long. And then it's a big industry, but it's much smaller than anyone thinks. And a reputation will grow quickly. And so we were just talking about how, the people that he and I fell in with when we got connected to, mostly commercial production, music video production, and then eventually into feature stuff, the people that we gravitated to and what made it possible for us to kind of break in as nobodies, with no connections moving there, was connecting on that level of decency. Is we could play well with others. We did what we said we would do when we said we would do it, or we took responsibility and like fixed the mess when we didn't. And that there's like a decency economy hidden within all the other economic factors. And so, I know you've got decency dialed in, so I'm excited for you to flex that. But, don't lose it. When people act like, oh, you got to have flash and talk yourself up and do this stuff. Like, you should have self-confidence. But
I think passion is a big part of it too. I think you have to be genuinely passionate about the creative side of whatever field you want to do. I mean, you could say media and you could mean 10, 15,000 different jobs. But I think finding what you like to do and being passionate about it is more important than anything else. I mean, I'm just going to keep quoting my parents. My dad always says you should do your job, but you should love it. And if you don't love your job, then that's not, you might want to find something else. I mean, you're made to enjoy life. You should enjoy life in as much as you can. And obviously that you can't do that 100% of the time, but
But I think you can, or at least I should say, I try to find the enjoyment regardless of the project. If I'm doing a pharmaceutical commercial and it's just super dry or whatever, like I can find a way to find joy in it, whether it's in honing my craft or it's in, being extremely dutiful to the contractors and stuff and making their lives easier, whatever it is. Like, I think that joy portion is one. Like, I do think it's a choice often more than a matter of circumstance, but but circumstances are also a matter of choice. So often. So anyway, we haven't even talked about the movie yet.
So what are we talking about today, guys?
Right.
Well, so let's get into it. So Isaac, when we talked about, we got to have you come on, we threw out some options for you, and you selected Kung Fu Panda, which people are tuning into this. They know by now we're talking Kung Fu Panda. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your relationship to this movie and what made you select it?
Yeah. So when y'all first asked me to come on, I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of a behind the scenes person in general. I was born, sorry guys, prepare yourselves. I was born in 2007.
Oh,
I was born in 2007. And that movie came out 2009, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, 2008, 2009.
But that movie was huge for me. That one and Cars, like, you could ask anyone in my family. I watched those two movies every single day for like years on end. Those are my favorite. The karate, I was going to get into that later. The karate movement in general, I feel like in the early 2000s was like booming. Like they had like Jackie Chan and all those big art. And Jackie Chan is a voice actor in this movie.
As a monkey, yeah.
Stacked cast, by the way. The voice acting cast is ridiculous for a kid's movie. But anyways, I really enjoyed that movie when I was a kid, and I went over to my sister's house, and my niece is now 5. She just turned 5, and they're doing like DVD and VHS, and she had my Kung Fu Panda DVD, and my niece asked me to watch it, and we sat and watched it, and I was like, wow, this movie is so good. And I kept noticing things. Obviously she's just like, well, the karate, and like, yeah, but I started noticing different things in the movie. I was like, wait, this would be good to come on the podcast and talk about. Yeah, that's my history with it. I mean, that's my childhood, so I really.
So this was one really for you growing up on repeat, watching it over and over again.
Yeah. It's fun for me to talk about it now because it's changed for me in my mind since I watched it when I was a kid and watching it with my niece, because she's seen it in my eyes when I first watched it, and now I'm seeing it with more of an adult lens.
Yeah, we'll say more on that. How has it changed for you from watching as a kid and just as the movie on repeat over and over again to now being able to take a little bit more mature lens?
When you watch it, it's so different having the memory of it, because when I'm watching her watch it, she sees it sort of the same way. Like, I feel like it's about like there's a panda and there's all these different creatures and they all do karate, and my niece is always like wah, 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 like she's always doing the karate stuff, which is fun. But I remember doing the exact same thing. My sister, who is her mom, I remember going up and doing the karate thing with her when I was watching that movie. So it's funny seeing that. But growing up now and watching it with her, I see more of the depth of the movie that I feel like kids are not going to find, because it's not shallow, but it's kind of hidden, I feel like. Especially when you're watching it, there's certain aspects that you kind of notice more. Going through maturity, going through high school, going through the first year of college even, you kind of grow mentally, and you see the themes they talk about in this movie kind of relate to that growth, I feel like this whole movie is about growth in different directions, in my opinion, and I think that's really interesting.
Well, so Po kind of goes to Kung Fu college. It is kind of he like leaves home to go study. He's going to school under this promise of sort of getting this pedigree and this degree. And so this idea is, I mean, it does even kind of come in the form of like a scroll, right? Like a diploma. Yeah. It's just he kind of gets the diploma up front. And it's like, hey, you already are the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
Now live up to it. It's almost like being like, well, I'm a film major. And it's like, okay, now live up to it.
Yeah. Maybe that's literally what college is. Like, I'm a business major. Okay, go do business then. Like,
like live up to it and then get out there and be somebody. Go
when
be
you
the
start,
hero.
You're assigned with a title, and then you are encouraged. What's the word encouraged? You're forced to reach that title. Like, you have to make it there. Because I mean, you can drop out of college if you want, but if you have assigned yourself a title, then you have to earn it. There you go. You have to work to earn that title.
Yeah, and then Po does try to drop out.
He does. And he fails miserably. They don't let him. I think that part is really interesting, because the whole interactions with Po in the first 30 minutes of the movie is just everyone dogging on him.
Yeah.
Master Shifu, everyone, they're like, you don't belong here. Like, you don't belong. We don't like you. You're fat. You stink. Like, you need a bath. Like, you're disgusting. And then Master Shifu has a change of heart when Oogway he spits wisdom and then fades away into nothingness, and that completely changes the course of the whole movie. And Po's like, I'm gonna leave, and Shifu's like, I won't let you. And the whole thing is about confusion, because both of them are asking each other, they're like, how are you going to make me the Dragon Warrior? I'm just a fat panda. And he says, I don't know. But Po stays, and he becomes the Dragon Warrior. They figure it out.
Well, we talked about the fractal nature, the story happening on a bunch of different levels. Shifu is still learning from Oogway the whole time, and he's still stubborn. He's still difficult. So he's got his own story arc. He's got to learn to accept, like, because Master Oogway, what makes him the like top guy, the most wise guy, is he knows what he doesn't know, and he's willing to accept, like, oh, something unpredictable happened. Let's go with that.
There
Panda
was
jumped in front of my finger here.
Yeah. There was a quote I pulled that Oogway said that I thought was really interesting. He said it to Poe. He said it to Poe. He said, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And I think that mindset was super interesting because no one else has that. And that's all he says. Like, all of his lines are just like, be present, be in the present. Who are you now? Be who you are today, not who you are tomorrow. Like, that's everything Oogway says the whole movie in a couple one-liners, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how that's the only thing he says and everyone else kind of has their own arcs going on, but he's like the one that's just like stays consistent the whole time. And then once he disappears, that consistency is gone. So then things begin to fluid and like fluctuate back to, let's get this Dragon Warrior thing going. We need to defeat Tai Lung. Like, everyone sort of comes back into the circle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting line to walk between, gratitude and presence, and then complacency. And so the invitation to being present and accepting what's now is not an invitation to complacency. It's not an invitation to say, oh, everything is the way it should be and it won't change, and don't worry about it. Don't just be who you are and don't get any better. It's like who you are now with a vision for where you want to be. And so we talked about this a little bit again on this other podcast, talking about the idea of the language around film major is not I'm going to do a film major. It's I'm going to be a film major. And so the language around the Dragon Warrior in this isn't like you're going to go do Dragon Warrior. You're going to, you are the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
And this is what he looks like right now. There's a higher calling. Poe knows a vision of where he wants to be and the kinds of things that he wants to be able to do.
That's the first scene of the movie is what he wants to be.
Yeah. But he's thinking of it in terms of, I can't be that thing until I can do all of these acts, these conduct.
Well, because even in that first scene where he's daydreaming and he's already got all the kung fu skills and he's making friends with I forget the name, the Big Five or whatever.
The Furious Five.
The Furious Five, because he wants to have buddies. He wants to have people to hang out with, right? And he's in his daydream, he's gotta have all these skills so he can get in with this in-group, right? But he doesn't need them. He just kind of shows up and happy accidents his way there. And then he's kind of stuck with them and they're not really happy with him. But like, he's finding his way to the things he's wanted as he's becoming it, not because he's arrived and now I'm good enough to hang out with these guys.
Right. Yeah. And the compulsion to grow comes from the sense of identity. When he finally really says like, okay, like it or lump it, I am the Dragon Warrior. And we're all stuck with that scenario.
Yeah, because he doesn't get the big ego right off the bat. Like, well, I'm the Dragon Warrior, guys. Like, Oogway pointed his finger at me.
He's the most likable of the five. When he first gets there, he's just like trying to bring everyone together. He makes food for everybody and does Oogway jokes. And it's just like, he's just being himself a majority of the time. And then the second that everyone else starts throwing expectations on him, then he starts like sort of becoming less confident and sort of
well, he's
destroying his own confidence.
He doesn't even get to the point. One thing that's interesting with it, like the only fight he has is Tai Lung at the end. It's not like he's gone through this big arc of him learning some things and then getting confident and then getting knocked down,
fighting mini bosses,
coming back up. Yeah. That's not a part like a good 3/4 of the movie is just his training, or his daydreaming, and then his like that's I think it speaks like that's the whole point of the story and his character development is that, and like. The fight at the end is just kind of the culmination of that. Yeah.
I think it's so funny how in the fight, Poe isn't fighting. He's just like using every sound effect they use. I love the what do they call it? Foley. I love the audio they use because it's just like the boom, boom. Like every time he hits anything. And he's not using Kung Fu. He hasn't learned Kung Fu, barely.
Yeah, true.
The only thing he's doing is just like bouncing him back with his weight. And I thought that was so interesting because he destroys Tai Lung.
Well, they say
the entire Furious Five couldn't do it.
Shifu said, like, in his training, you turn the enemy's moves on itself, right? That's basically what he's doing. It's just in his very
fight is so
cartoonish way. Yeah,
and it's so fun to watch because I think it comes full circle in that fight because he sent him through the thing and he's trying to learn Kung Fu and he's like getting set in flames and he just like keeps getting hurt and hurting himself and tripping. And then he finally is like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I am the Dragon Warrior. That means I can be myself. I don't have to set other expectations for myself. So he just does Poe. He just does Poe. And then he beats one of the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
It's really fun to see.
And part of what they're doing is like the tiger does tiger style and the crane does crane style. And so they're coming at him and he has this desire to learn their way of fighting. He's like, well, I need to do tiger style. Well, you're not a tiger, dude. And like, I need to do crane style. You know, Dragon Master, he's got to be the master of all of them. And you know, as an artist and as a film major and, you know, as a student and as a therapist, like as a person is trying to live up into this vision of who they want to be, there's a necessity to pursue the way other people did things, but it's also a trap. And so, you know, one of the things you do as an artist is called a master study. And so part of the way I grew up was like I learned to draw off of George Bridgman books. He was like this super famous anatomy instructor. I think he was at the New York School of Art. Someone can correct me, but just this master. I mean, if you ever look up George Bridgman stuff, it's unbelievably beautiful and completely simple. And he would draw it this was before projectors and screens and everything. So he had his giant chalkboard in front of a lecture hall and he would draw at the end of like a 6-foot stick with a piece of chalk and he would draw the stuff out. Like that's a Kung Fu master right there. And he would, and so I would trace, you know, and then I would, instead of tracing his exact lines, I would like trace the masses to try and figure out what his brain was thinking. And then eventually it's got to come into my hands and my body and I have to make it my own. And so if I just tried to do what George Bridgman did, for one thing, I would never do it because I'm not George Bridgman. And the other thing is it would lack the impact, you know, to bring it back in. You know, there's a reason we use that word even for art is that the physical metaphor is like, you know, your karate. I'm going to keep calling it karate because I like to call it karate. Like when he does, you know, when you do the karate, it has to have impact, and Poe isn't able to deliver impact until he's embodying, and the fact that it uses his body to do it, embodying his own karate. And then it has power. And so whether it's a mentor in the psychological arena, you know, I know as Eric's writing his book, you can copy someone else's psychology book, but that one's already there. It already exists. And you're never going to do it with the inspiration and the power that they did it, and it wouldn't be you, and so it's not going to land. And so
I think that's a big problem as well with my generation. I feel like I see it a lot, and especially with media. I'm just going to keep saying my generation because it's easier.
And we're old.
My generation a lot struggles with replication because especially with social media and how accessible it is and how much is on it. I mean, half my Instagram is just different people doing different tech like Touch Designer or After Effects or anything. And then you copy it and it's like, cool, you did something, but you followed a tutorial. A lot of the issue I see now is people don't go out there and think for themselves. I hate to say that. People don't really think for themselves creatively. And I think that's a big problem, especially with AI coming up. It's terrifying for me, and it should be terrifying for anyone coming into the industry because you need to stand out. And AI can only do so much, but it'll only keep doing so much until it's doing your job, you know? And that's part of the problem of AI coming into the art, media, anything like that type of industry is it can very well take over. And I think that the thing that humanity has that's so important is human creativity. And a lot of people are kind of losing that, it feels to me, or they see it and they replicate it, but they don't add on, or they don't make something new or try something new or try and better their own creative ability. And I think that is a big problem that I see a lot. But
well, I think I want to kind of double click on that, Isaac, because we've had some fun kind of offline discussions with you guys about just AI and AI art and where this is going to go. And there's when the barriers to entry are so low that anyone with no artistic ability or editing ability or anything can just like type in a thing, say, hey, edit this for me. And then you get a thing that's serviceable and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to get a bunch of average stuff. But it means like what you really have to be intrinsically motivated to go beyond just the average, because now it actually takes work, right? And
nothing will stand out
unless, I think the top level things will stand out, but you have to have people that are driven enough to make those like truly creative things, truly accessible choices. And not everyone is going to get that, but it's hard to get there when it's just so easy to like just do the quick and easy potato chips version of it.
Quick break from the episode to remind you guys, please like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. We talk about a lot of themes across all the episodes, and it's great. Feedback is the most helpful thing for us because we get to hear what you're saying, talk about it, even bring it up in the episode. Make sure, add us on the Apple, the Spotify, all the podcasts, everything. Do the works. Hope you're enjoying Kung Fu Panda. Back to the show. I think it's frustrating too, because just to take it into movie culture now, all the movies you see nowadays, I mean, I just watched Obsession yesterday. It was amazing. But a majority of the movies that you see out now are just sequels. And I hate, like, it's just so frustrating. I mean, Kung Fu Panda has 3 I think they go up to 4. I've only seen the first one. I haven't even seen the other one. I don't want to. I mean, sequels is just such an easy way to make money, and it's so simple, and the industry eats that up because it's free cash, and no one wants to be wasting their money on $100 million production and then have it gross like okay, that's unrealistic. But it's so frustrating because I feel like, I mean, especially now, I mean, A24 they have a lot of new movies coming out and things like that are kind of like niche, I would say. But all of the big studios that used to be making like hit after hit after hit are just like, let's make a sequel.
Let's remake a version of the same thing that was big a long time ago. Let's do a live action version of it. Let's do a sequel. Let's do a prequel. Let's do a retelling of the same. But it's all just
it's all the same.
Packaging
it's
the same IP.
Story.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard the same story for years now, and it's tiring. And I see that, especially when COVID hit. Everything after that, my generation, I mean, there's only a couple people I could hit up right now and say, let's go see a movie in theaters. And they'd be like, well, let's just pirate it, or let's just do something later. We don't need to spend $30 to go see a movie. And I love going to the theater. But even for me, sometimes it's like, it doesn't even feel worth it because this movie probably won't be good. I see the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer come out and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but it's Disney Star Wars. Like, I'm scared. Because Disney Star Wars is not good. It's terrible. It's just like, it's the toss up. And that's where a lot of people, that's why the movie industry, in my opinion, isn't doing as well as it used to, because the movies used to be banger after banger, original idea after original idea, and now it's all sequels.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things going on in there. Sequels are, in the United States, it's all a business. In some places overseas, they've got endowments for the arts, and so the tax money pays for the garbage they make. But here, our personal money pays for the garbage we make. And so, they gotta hit the bottom line. But there's a tendency to be motivated by fear instead of by inspiration. And, a lot of those decisions happen more from a business place than a creative place. And when these amalgams get too big, I mean, every single media company right now is like 6 different studios jammed together, and frequently under the aegis of some company that's not even specializing in making media. And then, there's a lot of complexity with how the unions can drive costs up and how production in the States, et cetera. But ultimately, I think there is it comes back to like, do you want to do a film or do you want to be a filmmaker? Do you want to do a piece of music? Do you want to be a musician? And I think so many people, the technology... and the technology is such that like, hey, if I want to do a painting, I can just enter a prompt and it'll do a painting. And so my hope is that what this does is make that schism between those personas bigger and more evident. And to the point where we really actually develop an entirely new genre, or an entirely new media format where people
know. And what's amazing is the resources are infinite. I mean, everyone has, you could do any type of creative thing you want at your fingertips, not with AI. There are so many different applications. It's all about passion and wanting to do it. I mean, we can get back to Kung Fu Panda. The whole thing Po wants to do is become a Kung Fu master. He works at a noodle shop with his dad, who isn't really his dad. Like he's just a panda, but he makes it happen because he has that passion. And that's what Tai Lung is lacking. When he starts out, Tai Lung, he only has these dreams where everyone's like, you're going to be the Dragon Master, you will be the Dragon Master. But maybe that's not what Tai Lung wanted, but that's the vision that he was given. But Po, from the start, first 5 minutes of the movie, is dreaming about being this Kung Fu master. And he has that new fire that, I mean, even Oogway says to Master Shifu, he says, something about the Dragon Warrior will bring peace to the valley and peace to him. And I think that the passion that Po has reflects on all of them in the Furious Five and all of that, because he brings something new to the table. I mean, he has a type of fire that they haven't seen before. He keeps getting hit and back down, and he's like, let's do it again. Like, that was fun. Let's try that again.
Yeah.
And
he's got that persistence. He says, I will never quit.
And a lot of people don't have
even
that.
when they're trying to make him quit. But it's also like, because he's not the comparison to Tai Lung is interesting, because like Tai Lung is passionate. Tai Lung wants it. He thinks he's owed it. He thinks he deserves it. He thinks for a different reason. Well, he lacks any humility around it. He's like, I'm the best by far. I'm the most physically capable. I'm the most aggressive. I'm at the top of the hierarchy. Why am I not just owed this? And it's his very attitude. I think that stands in his way around that. Whereas Poe's got the passion and the dream and the persistence for it, but he doesn't have the skill. He doesn't have all but he's got the humility and kind of willingness to learn and take direction of that and allows the process to play out.
The difference between skill and humility is that skill can be easily obtained through effort, but humility is much harder to gain, especially once you've been locked in a prison for 20 years. I mean, humility is harder to get than skill. And I think that's really important. And
especially against resentment, because that's the other thing that's driving Tai Lung at the end is after his fall from grace, he has all this resentment, no personal responsibility for his choices that led to his imprisonment and that put him in that caused his downfall. He only puts blame outwards, but I stepped on you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't remember what I was going to say, but that did remind me, the prison sequence and like when Tai Lung breaks out is so cool. Like,
it's so good.
Him jumping over the things and all the like slow motions of him like hitting these rhinos and everything. I love that scene so much. And another thing too, I was going to mention like sort of the history and the animation behind this movie. I mean, the animation is awesome, but this movie actually did really well with critics in China because of the accuracy that they depicted sort of the Chinese culture. And I think that was really interesting, as well as the Furious Five. All five of them represent a different fundamental form of karate, which I thought was really cool too. And the whole movie is done really well with like homaging to Chinese culture, especially for a Hollywood film, because usually Hollywood does not do culture justice whatsoever. But I think this movie is really well done in that way. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it was a huge hit and a huge moneymaker for the studios. It was like, not only is it have artistic integrity, but it was also a really savvy business move, because the Chinese film market is really difficult. The government will screen whatever goes in there and they pick, and there's only so many they're going to let in. And they have very stringent guidelines you have to fit within. You can't have supernatural stuff because they're a communist materialist society, right? You can't be spreading spiritual ideas. You have to depict China in a positive light. There's all these sort of things that it has to fit within. And they did it so effortlessly with this movie that it is just honorable in its depiction.
At no point does it feel like pandering to get in a film market. You know,
it is panda-ing, but it's not pandering.
Good one.
Thanks, Dad.
I know, it's StoryDads. So I did want to say another thing about Poe's motivation, because what he thinks he wants is this role in this title. What he's really looking for is acceptance and community. Like he wants friends. And I know that, you know, I often have that urge to C.S. Lewis has this essay on the inner circle of wanting to be in this, you know, exclusive inner group. And I know that sinfully have that urge to be accepted into it. And I have this tendency that I know in myself to see people who are doing what I want to be doing and not recognizing that they're just being who they are in themselves. And I want to ingratiate myself to them and ameliorate them, and then suddenly they're my peers. And then that must say something about me, because these are my friends. And I know that I have a tendency to do that. And I it's something that I try to be mindful, because I kind of, I'm fairly likable in a room, and I can kind of do that. But I know that I'm being false, and I think people pick up that I'm being false, and they're like, "Hey, I'm intentionally ingratiating myself to you, not because of something I want for you, but something I want for myself." And Poe, there's this thing that happens among people who actually are my peers when I'm not in sort of a sinful place of trying to, gerrymander relationship. Is I'm when I am myself, and I am being the artist, and I'm expressing my art, doing my craft or my trade, whatever it is, that there's just a mutual respect among people who are not doing that, who are not trying to ingratiate themselves to people. And then you go, oh, I actually have peers. Like, this actually is my community group.
It happens, right?
Yeah, and it happens organically, not from a process of things that I'm doing correctly or incorrectly to like work my way in, but actually just from a place of authenticity, which is what happens with Poe, is when he stops trying to ingratiate himself, because all of his attempts to make friends fail. Like, he makes them food, he makes them laugh, and they're kind of like, that's fine. Once he accepts who he is, and he puts effort into that, and lives up to his responsibilities, because he does still have to be the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
Then he finds that he has these peers that respect him, not because he can do tiger style karate, but because he does his own at the level that they do theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one had ever seen Panda style Kung Fu before, but then he creates it and he lives into it.
Well, and it's part of Shifu's arc too, because he's learning how to motivate this new student. He's like, I don't know how to teach Panda style or whatever. But then after Uwe moves on and he kind of surrenders, like, all right, I'm going to have to figure this out. I wrote down, it's the master's job to learn how to motivate his students. And he's like, I'm stuck with this guy. And then the training that they break through is like, all right, here's your food, go eat it. Right. Because that's what motivates you, Panda. And then that's the part of their whole kind of chopstick training thing, which was a great scene too. But it's as Shifu drops his ego and like, I know how to train and I'm the best master, I'm the best trainer here. He actually surrenders that ego to take in what Uguay is trying to teach him, and then Poe has to do the same thing as he goes, all right, Shifu's trying to teach me something, I'm going to take him with it. So it's going down the line.
It requires, again, the humility, like you were saying, is hard to level up, and humility. And so Shifu's in a place where he knows what to do, but he doesn't know how to elicit that way of being. So he knows how to like beat Kung Fu into somebody, but he doesn't know how to, he learns through the process of the movie how to let it emerge.
Well, he learns how to level up as a teacher, as the Kung Fu master to this is a different student, this is a different person I'm taking. Like, how do I teach this student? And Micah, you said like the example of, all right, I'm trying to ingratiate myself into this group and be one of these people and do and put on this act in order to make these connections. And maybe those connections happen and maybe those relationships will come as part of it. Or maybe my place in this whole ecosystem is I need to play this role here. And when I surrender to that, place fits in. I think that's what, because Poe's not going directly to Master Oogway. He's like, I want to learn what the top guy thinks because I should be up with him. It's like, no, my role here is to study and learn under Shifu, and his role is to learn from Oogway. And we're playing our playing our role in that hierarchy correctly.
Yep. Everyone has to drop their ego a bit to be able to accommodate for this.
I'm in the place that life or God or whatever circumstances lands me in. How can I take in what I need to take in for? And that's and maybe that leads to a relationship with Master Oogway or the people I've always admired, and there can be a friendship, or maybe that's not. My path is something different, but I'm not trying to force a different thing because now I'm not actually playing my role.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the pressure between the flashback where Shifu is training Tai Lung, which also interesting fact, Tai Lung means great dragon in Mandarin, which I think is interesting. So Shifu chose Great Dragon as a name for him. And I think, especially with Shifu having to change his complete style, it shows the difference between his raising of Tai Lung and Po, because Tai Lung was raised as that type of thing. And I've already said this, but it makes him have this, like, this was my dream. This is what I was supposed to be. But Po is like, you got to change your whole teaching standard to be able to teach him. But it's still like, he is the Dragon Warrior. Ogoy always says, like, there are no accidents. Like, he is the one that fell from a ball in the sky, fireball, and became the Dragon Warrior.
Isaac, you brought up Disney Star Wars and how they ruined all the things. I wrote down, I thought the Tai Lung Shifu relationship is what the Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren relationship should have been.
Yeah.
It was, because it is this, like, this failed student that was destined to be the one. He was by far the most capable, the most powerful, and he went totally sideways because of his own ego. And it was like they did it well with that.
Yeah. That's a really interesting sort of dichotomy there. I didn't think about that.
It's the same pattern. I'm sure there's other great stories that have that, like the failed student that was incredibly talented, but their pride or their hubris or their whatever totally took them sideways.
Well, I mean, that's Darth Vader as well. That started there.
I was about to say that's like Anakin, but I feel like, no, that is Anakin. That's Anakin. He was denied the rank of master and then turns completely to the dark side. I mean, I feel like that archetype is in a lot of media now that I think about it, because it's so accurate to humanity. I mean, when you are given this dream and this goal, and then people have always been telling you, hey, you're going to get this. And then they're like, just kidding. That's not you. It's like, what have I been doing for the past, for me, 18, for anyone else, 20, 30, 40 years of my life, if this isn't going to be the end goal? I mean, especially to bring it back, like with AI, I mean, people lose jobs. I mean, things are happening. It's like, I've been at this company for so-and-so years, and then it's not in fruition anymore.
I think it's the pride comes before the fall idea. Like, I have been owed, I am entitled this thing because I am the most capable. I studied music for a bit, and I was not the most talented student, but I would see consistently some of the students that would get ripped the hardest would be the ones who are incredibly talented, and they just coasted off their talent, right? Teachers would rip into them because they're like, you've been told you are the best so often, and can just show up to rehearsals with little to no practice and just coast in that. And that is not going to work. But, and people can be indignant to that feedback because they've never got it, because they just think like, what do you mean? I'm the best of everyone here, and I'm the one who you're ripping into? Like, how dare you? But
that reminds me of Whiplash.
Yeah.
The music reference. Yeah. He's like, oh, you're amazing. Like, oh, come be first chair. Like, come be first chair. And then he's like, you are the worst stain on our music class. So that movie's amazing.
Well, it's also, this has a bit of the, like, you know, Shifu, if you want to look at that, like, I'm gonna beat any pride you have out of you before we actually do some training.
I mean, even everyone else, I mean, Po is just trying to, like, be himself and, like, enjoy the training. And they're like, you're making a joke out of this. Like, you aren't taking karate seriously, and you're putting disrespect on all of us by that. And he's like, I'm just being myself. Especially, like, that's literally that first night he's there. He's talking with Crane, and he's talking with Tigress, and they're both just like, you shouldn't be here, like, in this place. I think that's really interesting.
Speaking of other, like, well-known archetypes, I mean, Po is the classic orphan who is raised knowing he's got a higher purpose, wondering when his adventure will start, right? So that's Luke Skywalker, that's Harry Potter, that's that's the hero's journey archetype, right?
Yeah. I did want to get into Poe's family, because I think the dichotomy with his dad and the noodle shop, and then they play with it a lot with the noodle shop and with the karate, because I mean, his dad from off the rip is like, you had a dream about the noodle shop. That's amazing.
You had the noodle dream.
The noodle shop. And this is your perfect time for the noodle secret ingredient. Like, you had the noodle dream. That's amazing. And he's pushing his dream onto Po. And then, I mean, Po wants to be the Dragon Warrior, but the second he gets to the karate castle, they're like, you're the Dragon Warrior. He's like, I just make noodles, guys. Like, what are you talking about? It's always like things are being imposed on him until he decides to come clean with his dad. And he's like, hey, I did not have a noodle dream. No one dreams about noodles. That's weird. And it's one of my favorite scenes because he's talking with his dad. He's like, sometimes I don't think I'm your son. And his dad is a goose.
Honestly,
And his dad's like, hey, really serious. I got something really important to tell you. And he's like,
and you think he's going to tell him he's adopted, right?
Yeah. And then he's like, the secret ingredient to the noodles. And this is like so important to the movie. And it's the turning point. The secret ingredient to the noodles is no secret ingredient. Nothing. The secret ingredient is how you make the noodles. And I think that scene, that's when I started watching it with my niece and like focusing. Like that scene is so big because he just has the dragon scroll on the noodle cart. He's like, this means nothing. It's blank. When everyone gets it, Shifu gets it. The second they take it off, they're like, it's blank. You're kidding. There's nothing on here. We're doomed. Evacuate the valley. Everyone's gonna die. Like, we can't do this. The second his dad tells him the secret ingredient, he looks at it and he sees, and it's a reflection of himself.
Well, that's what the dragon scroll
is,
blank.
Right? Yes.
The dragon skull is the secret ingredient, which is like,
exactly. And the secret ingredient is the fact that it's a secret ingredient makes it special. It's not the fact that it's any type of secret anything. It's not an ingredient.
And you've done the work, right? So the dragon scroll is you've earned the right and the training and all this to get to see the dragon scroll, to then realize like, hey, you've accomplished what you need to accomplish because you're here and you're getting access to this.
Yeah.
And in noodle world, that's you have mastered noodles and cooking and all this to like now, okay, you ready for the secret ingredient? You got it. You've been doing it all along. Like it's exactly
and even when he's serving everyone soup,
it's the moment that you're ready.
Yeah. And they hint to that a lot because in that moment when he's serving them soup, he's like, this is my secret ingredient soup, but there's no secret ingredient. And they're like, this is the best soup I've ever had in my life. And he's like, no, I mean, you should try the actual
wait till what my dad does. He actually has.
It's like he's doing the same thing. But I think it's so interesting because once Tai Lung gets his hands on the scroll, finally, after their epic battle of just like hitting each other with their belly fat, Tai Lung gets the scroll and he looks at it and it's a reflection again. I love when movies play with reflection because it means a lot. But Tai Lung looks at the scroll, he says, there's nothing. And he's looking at himself with such intent. Like he's looking at himself like there's nothing there. And they hold it longer than they do with Poe. At least for me, it feels that way. Because they want you to know that Tai Lung doesn't see himself in that role. The second he gets the scroll, he sees that. But Poe talks to him and he's like, you don't get it. Like you are the dragon warriors. Yeah. It's anyone can be the dragon warrior. It's just about the dedication you have and the passion you put into that. And it's crazy how much this relates to the industry. I mean, what we've been talking about this whole time, like the passion and putting that in and seeing that you don't have to replicate anyone else's merit or anyone else's goal. I mean, it's all about how you go about making your own name for yourself and doing your own things and making your own it's destiny.
So cleverly, physicalized that metaphor. And the way that we talk about the fractal nature of reality and the fractal nature of mastery and all these things I think it's a Chinese proverb and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like, to the learner, there are infinite ways of doing things. And to the master, there's only one. And so it seems like I should have as I grow in mastery, there should be an infinite way of doing things. And it's this ephemeral thing and people talk about this all the time, whether it's with writing or with filmmaking or with iambic pentameter. Like there are rules. There are ways to do things until you reach a certain point, at which point you are ready to look at the dragon scroll. Because if Poe looked at the dragon scroll at the beginning, it doesn't have any meaning to him the same way it didn't have any to Tai Lung. Because whatever he needed to learn
to get there.
Yeah. And so when people go, oh, well, there's no rules to art. And you go, well, actually, there's like insane number of rules to art.
Tell me you know nothing about art without saying you know nothing about art.
Yeah. But when you have mastery, the rules become guidelines and they become, common knowledge or sort of they internalize. And so the ability to break the rule.
Yeah, it's not you can't break the rules, but right.
Yeah. So Shakespeare breaks iambic pentameter frequently, but when he does it, it's correct. And so when Po breaks the rules of Kung Fu, because he's come to this place of realization through effort, through work, through discipline, it looks different for him than it looks for other people, but he still goes through this journey. He's able to view that scroll properly and understand that, oh, now I really am the Dragon Warrior in the way that I need to be at this moment. And of course, in the other movies, other challenges arise and he has other things to do. And some of them are pretty good, Isaac. I'm going to let you know that some of those Kung Fu Panda sequels are good and worth watching. So the most recent one, not so much. But as usual, 1, 2, and 3 do okay. And then they go off the rails.
Of course. Not to
let's
mention
go ahead.
Toy Story. But...
Stay tuned for Toy Story 4 coming out next week.
Yeah, we'll really hammer that one. Let's go ahead and roll into villain comeuppance. So I'm looking at the time. We did manage to make you talk a lot.
Yeah. I wrote down a couple things for Tai Lung in my notes.
I just want to say to maybe start this out when I was going through this and watching it with my kids. My oldest kind of knows we do like something about like how the villain is defeated. Like, he doesn't totally understand the concept of like villain comeuppance, but like, you know, he made a point to point out to me, Dad, he uses his fatness to beat the bad guy. I was like,
exactly. Which is so awesome. I mean, that fight is it's so well done because it represents the entire journey all of the characters have made throughout the movie. But Tai Lung's arc, I mean, we touched on it. I mean, he has these expectations that have been thrown on him, and then he's revoked his wish, and then he gets locked away. Like, I'd be pretty pissed too. But he's just full of anger and resentment, and that pride comes before the fall. Icarus flies too close to the sun. Like, he's not gonna make it there. And I think it's cool when all of the Furious Five pulls up on him. He's like, "You're not the Dragon Warrior. Who's the Dragon Warrior? Isn't here. None of you guys are." And then he sees Poe, and he's like, "Oh, you're definitely not the Dragon Warrior." But obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, and because he's got that stun move he uses on each of the Furious Five.
Yeah, which is so cool.
It's cool. Poe's immune to it because of his weight, right? It doesn't work on him. Yeah, which I like. If I'm trying to symbolism, like, is there something about like his innocence, his naivety, or his skill in a more practical thing kind of makes him immune to just this like high level karate thing that he's mastered? Like, all right, I'm so. I don't know. So something about that is like he just turns it on him because he's doesn't work on him.
I think it's so cool because when he is fighting Tai Lung, like, he basically defeats him completely, but not yet. And I remember when I was a kid, this was my favorite scene. And my niece quotes this all the time too, which is fun. But it's the part where he holds Tai Lung and he has his pinky up. And it's like this is the hold, and he's like, "You don't know that hold. Shifu didn't teach you that hold." And it's so representative of him because he's made this journey, and he's the Dragon Warrior. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, he has the reflection of himself, and he's confident in himself enough to know, like, I can do this hold, like, I can do this. And Tai Lung always had that resentment and unconfidence. What's the word? He didn't have confidence in himself, and Oogway saw that. It was just like a wrecking ball, and that's literally Yoda Anakin. I mean, it's the same thing.
Well, but, and the pinky hold is humiliation, right? Like the nature of that move. It's the one you use to discipline, like the most basic childish student, right? It's the like kung fu equivalent of giving him a spanking.
Yeah,
and so the fact that that's ultimately what he can't withstand is
that's good.
Like you were saying, he does not have an iota of humility, and so he goes back to being a child and getting spanked by someone that he perceives as being the person least qualified to spank him. And it has, it's the last shall be first and the first shall be last. It's was it Jacob or Isaac crossing his hands to bless the youngest kid instead of the oldest kid. It's in the Christ story, it's, the peasant infant is actually the king of the universe. It's this complete inversion, and it's the ultimate humiliation of a prideful foe, which is the Satan story, right? Is he thinks that he should be first, and so he winds up being the absolute bottom.
And Jack Black is hilarious. I mean, when he does it, he hits the skadoosh. Like, that's what he said. And there's just like massive nuclear bomb in the town. It's just like, it's really funny.
Yeah. It is worth double clicking on that. Jack Black is hilarious.
Yes.
the guy can single-handedly carry your film, whether it's a good one or a bad one.
And he's done it for like 2
one.
decades. He's done it for like 2 decades too, right? So like,
he hasn't won an Oscar yet, I don't think, and that's not fair.
Crazy to me, but I mean, be mindful of time. We don't have to get into this, but I think Jack Black's role as an actor has kind of changed over the past. Like, I remember when I was a kid watching like Goosebumps and things like that, like those types of movies. I loved Goosebumps, but I feel like now his role has kind of changed to where he's not as much of like the main character energy. I feel like he kind of does well integrated with everyone else now. But like when he first started like 10 years ago, he would be much more like, this is definitely like the main actor. He is 100% doing like, he's carrying the weight of the film. But I feel like now his role has kind of changed a bit. I mean, I see that with the Mario movie specifically, and I cannot think of any of Minecraft
like
movie.
The Jumanji movies.
Yeah, the Jumanji movies, and
he kind of takes a side role.
Yeah, he's one of the guys on the team. Yeah. He's a member.
And you look at Tropic Thunder, where every single one of those actors is a main character actor.
Yeah,
and they all blend together to this amazing ensemble. And I think that is a huge compliment to his character as a performer, as an entertainer, that I see evidence of him, his willingness to share the spotlight and to find his place in an ensemble. And I remember when Jim Carrey did that it's a terrible movie, but the Batman.
Oh yeah, Batman
Forever?
Returns.
I forget which one.
It was Batman and Robin.
And when he's the Riddler, and
Batman Forever.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time in his career, he was always like Jack Black in his early career. He was the main guy. He was the engine of every movie, and he manages to play the Riddler. And he's way out on a limb with that character. Like, he is putting everything into it, and still subordinating his performance to where it fits in the ensemble. And I just think, I think that is, again. And look, I don't know any of these people personally, what their humility is like in their personal lives, but that to me feels like what we were talking about with Poe.
A testament to their character.
Yeah, their character and their humility and their decency to go, this is about the art. This is about the film, and I am a part of that. It's not about me. And
it's genuine care about the art that they're pursuing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can I contribute to this
cast?
Them,
Yeah.
Well, this was fun, Isaac. Glad to have you with us, man, and unpack this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be a fun episode, especially for a movie like this that you grew up with, that meant something to you. And I think whenever it there's exceptions to that rule, but I feel like by and large, when something like you grew up with, it sticks. Like, something about that is important, and as you get older and can really like kind of pick that apart and understand all the things you were taking in, it's fun to do. That's why we do this podcast. So glad you're with us, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun actually talking about this with you guys, because usually I'll just like watch the episode and then I'll text something and I'll be like, oh, this is really interesting, or this found interesting. But it's cool to be on the front.
We go way deeper and unpack this. This is great.
Yeah.
Quick question, and I'm also just stretching it out so that you have to edit yourself longer.
Of course.
So you said that your friends and your peers within your film school listen to the podcast, and your family listens to the podcast. Is that, I mean, obviously a lot of it is because they love you and you're putting your heart and soul into this, and so they're supporting you. But what about the station and the project that we're all working on together, I don't know, appeals to them? Do you know?
I feel like the thing that they love about this podcast so much is how, like, my sister is a mother of 3. My brother is a father of 3. And it's like, they have kids. My mom is a mother of 4 grandkids. Like, a lot of this is about having the children, because some of these movies, like, my sister hasn't seen Brave, but I told her, like, please watch the Brave episode, because she has 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and your guest, I can't remember her name, but
Katie.
Katie did an amazing job on the Brave episode. And like, she had a lot of great points. It was kind of tugging my heart a little bit on the episode, because I watched Brave once when I was a kid, but I think what attracts them the most to it is like what you guys are doing in general. Like, I feel like you have kind of a niche with the podcast that I always say this, that like no one else really has, because you're both dads, you're both like educated, scholarly, like in your respective fields. And I think that's huge. And when you're talking about kids movies, it's like parents want to hear about what their kids are watching, but they want to enjoy it too, you know? Like, no one wants to sit through a movie that they're not going to like Despicable Me last episode. I loved that movie when I was a kid. That was so fun for me, but it was because of the minions and the fart jokes. But
which is great.
Yeah, which is fun. Everyone loves a good fart joke. Yeah, it's all right. But I think that they love that the most about the podcast. I mean, obviously I'm editing it, so I'm like, hey, watch this. But the messages that y'all bring up and talk about are really big. And I think that attracts people more than anything. I mean, if my sister or my mom, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't watch it. I mean, when my sister watched Incredibles, she called me immediately and she was like, this episode was so amazing. Like, she was like crying. She was like, this was so good. I was like, thanks, guys.
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Yeah,
well, as usual, we're going to do a short one for you. And so it's an hour, 10 minutes of recording.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, have fun with that.
Every time you guys text me, it's short and sweet. I'm like, oh, so like an hour and a half. Well, that's good. Like, yeah.
You had your short and sweet last one. Despicable Me's out by now. And you did a great, I think it's one of your best edit jobs, by the way. But this one's going to be a little bit longer. So thanks for thanks for being with us. And for the listeners,
I'm excited,
and for the audience, thanks for being with us. I'll go for it.
Oh, I wanted to say I did have a piece of advice because y'all always ask the dads since it's
Give us some dad advice. Yeah.
As a child, as a 19-year-old, as a teenager, I've been through the teenage years. I get it. Sucks. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. But as a teenager, I think, especially with what Katie said on the Brave episode, just like listening, because a lot of teenagers, I'm speaking for myself, I can speak for all teenagers, to be honest, they're all the same, but it's all about like being heard. There's so much emotion and so much going on in our heads. It's like so difficult to actualize. And I've gotten better at verbalizing my emotions, but a lot of teenagers struggle with that. And I think as a parent, when teenagers are coming in and they're starting to grow and have these new emotions and new feelings and hormones are through the roof and everything, like just take time, like breathe and listen instead of immediately going to like the emotional, I'm mad at you, we have a problem. It's like, just take a second and let them explain themselves. That was one thing that I was really frustrated with. And my parents did an amazing job. I mean, I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying as parents, they're great. So I think that that's a big part of being the parent of a teenager. It's very difficult. And watch the Brave episode. Like genuinely, she made great points.
Yeah, awesome.
That's great. Well, thanks, Isaac. It's been great having you on. You're 19. You got wisdom beyond your years, and it's fun to get to unpack this stuff with you. I'm glad we got connected with you. You make our podcast work. We hopefully get to inspire and enchant some new ideas with you, and looking forward to keep doing it with you.
Of course. Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much. It's been awesome.
See everyone.
That was StoryDads. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for hanging with us to the end of the episode. This was a long one, but a good one. It was such a pleasure having Isaac in front of the camera. And I hope out there you got something out of that. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Find us on Apple Podcasts. Find us on Spotify and on YouTube. Send us comments. Get back to us. Let us know how this episode was for you, what you'd like to see in the future. Do you have a movie you grew up with that we aren't even talking about because we're totally disconnected from what's going on? Let us know. We will feature it. Next week, I think we got, what are we doing? We got Toy Story 4 coming up. And so that one's going to be a hate fest. I'm going to warn you right now. All right. It's got some redeeming qualities, but they are few, much like myself. All right. We will see you next time on StoryDads. Thanks.